Welcome back, dear viewers, and you're still on the Nile cruise. And Egypt's regional museum, particularly in coastal hubs like Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh, are undergoing a massive digital transformation. And to shed more light, we are most delighted to be joined by Dr. Wael Badawy, a professor of the digital transformation and the leading expert in the digital innovative and the artificial intelligence. A very good afternoon to you, Dr. Wael.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here.
So much for being with us. Dr. Wael, when we talk about the smart screens and making the museums from smart or digital, what does actually look like an ordinary family working through the doors of Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada?
The concept of transforming a museum into digital, it matches the new trends of the youth and Gen Z and our lifestyle. When we have lots of information technology around us, lots of screens, and what we start to see now is there is more attractions into attending 3D projections of dooms than as part of the museum tourists. So when we go to unique places like Sharm el-Sheikh or Hurghada or any of the new unique places of Egypt, and we start to modernize it and building, they call it digital fingerprint. Yeah, making a smart or digital fingerprint where people will come and interact. This will guarantee that we have deployment for infrastructure, we have a good internet, people can communicate digitally. So this should impact the number of visitors, the number of users, in particularly in the age bracket within the 30-40 years old, because those who are interested more into gaining knowledge through digital means. So the way I personally look at it is not you make it smarter, is you attract someone who used to get information through the digital conduit. He does not read newspaper, he does not read books, he read everything on the digital space. Therefore, if I do automation and I do virtual reality, I do digitalization for these places, people who will come will be the one who like to get information through digital platforms.
Yes, Doctor, also many visitors love using their smartphones to see the broken statue appear fully augmented through reality. How does a museum software can apply or can accurately line up the digital image with the real?
If you do it on your own platforms, it will be accurately and perfect. Now the problem is bring it with you or bring your own. The bring your own technology is basically when I go to a coffee shop or a place and I bring my own phone and I will open the internet. So when I start to look at deploying systems on visitors' platforms, this will create some technical complication because we have digital divide. You have Android phone, I have an iPhone. You have
different programs, yes. Yeah.
You have a Japanese phone. So having different languages for interfaces, having different manufacturers, having different ages. So I have 2 years old phone, you have a brand new phone. This will create some burden and some pressure on building on their own knowledge. We understand that's why they want to have it on their own phone, because they used to have this platform. So now when you give them a different phone, different size, or different headsets, it will be slightly different. So the issues of bringing your own phone will mandate that our platforms will be developed on a daily basis to equip and integrate with every brand new phone and with every old phone. And this will create a technical challenge more than the entertainment and the museum.
Dr. Wael, also when the hundreds of tourists are using interactive the apps to the exact same time, it can crash the standard networks, as we mentioned. How do you design a museum, a digital infrastructure, who can handle that heavy data traffic smoothly?
We had experience on handling these large data traffics, and what we will do is usually you double or you make 150% usages. So you basically design it. If you assume the museum will get 1,000, so you have to design the system for 1,500. Someone will come and say there is no 1,000 standing position. You know what? 1,500, because there is. You have to back up yourself by building it for extra. However, historically, when we look at services like cell phone, they do the opposite. They sell 4 times the capacity of the tower. And this is in North America, so nobody in Egypt will come and say this is true or wrong. But in North America, usually they sell 4 times the capacity, because not everybody will make phone call or connect, but in the same time. Also, when we have the infrastructure, we can run the schedule, because usually these tours will come on a schedule.
In control of this,
You are in control of the
yes,
schedule.
yes.
And if they are not formalized touring groups, we can always let people in at the gate intelligently and injecting a delay of 3 to 5 minutes. So by the time they will run into the corridor or the hallway, you will be able to busing them or making them into trains. So not everybody at the same time are getting into the same access point. And this will happen also because if you look at the different museums, you will have a sculpture or a statue, and in the surrounding you can have 20, 30, 40 standing positions. So you have a limited capacity. Now, if you run into issues, you will put fences, so you start to reduce the number of users. So designing it, if we put the physical design along with the digital design, we can achieve goals, and good goals.
Concerning this point, being set for a software designer, how does this data show whether an exhibit is genuinely engaging or just confusing the public?
I laugh at this question because we have on the internet, on the regular internet, on social media, we have tools to tell us if we are engaged or not. So people in the human-computer interface, which is science, is studying this particular phenomena of engagement. They have lots of work and lots of research. So usually when someone will be watching on a virtual reality platform or virtual reality assisted, because he stands in front of the actual statue, he will always listen to the end. He can rerun a specific segment. He will interact with the device. And you know for a fact now, and sometimes when you run just a movie from your phone and then you start to shake your phone, you will have advertisement will come in, because now the phone will know that somebody is watching the screen. So that's why when
this is a new information for me.
Yeah, so this is information. So by the number of people, because we have control on these devices, we can record if it vibrates, if it shakes, if it moves, which direction is moving, is it beside your ear, is it away from your ear. Now the technology is here to demonstrate this particular measurement. That's why you can easily understand if they are engaged. And also you can use the software engineering approaches by injecting questions, by injecting puzzles, by injecting, okay, so now we come at this point, if you want to continue, please continue. So we can always build from software perspective, hardware integrations, and understand the human factor out of using this technology.
Doctor, also the large digital screens and serves they generate a lot of heat, but the ancient artifacts need a cool and to stable environment. How do smart climate sensors can balance keeping the computers running without damaging the delicate antiquities?
If you look at the larger screens, and there are now larger screens based on tiles, and they use LEDs, which is very low voltage, very low power. They basically don't emit, and the way they built it now is you can have a huge larger screen. It's not 100 inches, much more.
Power saving, I
Yeah,
think, and
and
like
they
this.
have the power saving. But usually, this particular sculpt and statues will be positioned in a place where you have two main type of sensors. One is temperature sensor, and the other one is humidity sensors. And these sensors, when we increase the number of sensors to be try to give a decent or to overcome the issue of misreading of a sensor, because these sensors have a quality of reading as well. So that's why you need to have number of them and make sure you have an average. This will facilitate the way to manage the temperature, and understand now that the smart building will also include fans and include airway circulations to cool them off by building a small fan, and then you have the automatic switch will switch the fan, so you start to have a synthetic tunnel or synthetic airflow. This will cool them. So these technologies now have become mature, and mature means costly, affordable, because sometimes they are, and mature means they are also available, because sometimes the technology is not available, not because of us, it's because they don't have enough production, people are not using it as much. So this kind of sensor will help, and what we call it now is IoT, or Internet of Things, where we take these sensors, grab them into one access dashboard, and the dashboard will be remotely, so a guard or somewhere remotely will be able to to view what's going on.
Doctor, also since these museums run on a connected digital networks, as you mentioned before, they can be vulnerable to hacking. Or in simple terms, how do you lock down these systems and to protect them for the museum's computer system to prevent the hacking in general?
The experience we had when we built the new capital is we built what we call it bubble separated networks, which means this will be on an internet, but this internet is not accessible to public. It's only accessible to the minister tourism, to people engaged, to people who can upload. Working in the sector, not necessarily in the same building, they can be remotely. However, this is physically is not connected. So when we start in Egypt to build new cities and new buildings, we will come with a different connections, different cable for this particular network, different router, different hub. So this is the experience, and it was very good experience we had it with a new capital, because people when try to say, why do you build a new capital? Because we want to train ourselves how to deploy the new digital designs, the new digital architecture, the new protection, the new cybersecurity. So the nowadays design for these museums is you will have their own network, their own fiber, their own cables running internally where all the shows will run. This will help in few things. One is, as you said, cyber attacks. The other one is you maintain the bandwidth and accessibility. The third one, you guarantee the speed. And there will be some other terminal which is connected elsewhere, because you also need to have fire, you need to have fire alarms, you need to have tells, you need to have other service. So usually the show related internet is not a publicly accessed internet. It's still an internet, but it's not publicly accessed. So this is the best way we have been proven in Cairo. Now, when we go to an area where you have already established of network, you start to use what we call it firewall. You start to use different software techniques and hardware techniques as add-on. This does not give us 100% protection, but it gives us some level of protection.
Doctor, also as we often see the AI suggesting the movies and the products based on our behavior, how can the AI used inside a museum to recommend a customized walking path based on what a visitor likes?
Um, I cannot tell you how brilliant this question, because you start the show with asking when people they want to use their own phones or their own handsets. So if you are using your own handset, the cookies and the software on your phone understand very well your personality, what you like, what did you visit. So if I deploy my museum app to your phone and I will ask you, allow me to access other data from other apps. Now I know what you like. So I can using what we call it recommender, which is artificial intelligence based recommendation system. I can pick to you what you like. The alternative way is to basically the AI will ask questions to the tourist. What do you like, or to the visitor? What do you like? What routes do you like? And then the artificial intelligence understand also the crowd. So it will start to give you a real-time track, and if you are late in one area because you want to spend more time, or you skipped one area because you didn't like it so much, the AI can be adjusted. So the crowd management we talked about early on, in how you can push people into like trains, not all of them in one area. This will help us into giving a nice route and another layer of managing the experience. Because all what we talk about is not the AI, is not the handset, is not the virtual reality, is not the virtual devices. All what we talk about is good experience for visitors to come back. And part of the expectation now, you need to have digital experience because you read your newspaper online. So that's why this is the driver and this is what we are looking for.
And as we know, all the regional, the museums host the tourists from all over the world. How are the complex historical terms in the multiple language, and the AI can translate these tools for all these numbers of tourists from around the world?
AI provide what we call it personal experience, and part of the personal experience is not only the translation, because if I will tell you we can do translation within 89 to 95% accuracy, there are viewers who will come and say no, because they want to keep their job. As I said, it's not, no, you know what, AI will give you personal experience. Personalized experience means keyword you are using in your own culture. And to give a good example, easy example, you talk about is it toilet or restrooms or WC or water closet. So the AI is able to translate the proper word out of these four to the proper guy coming from the region with what they use. So
Yes.
it's not a toilet, and I will not
Restroom or water closet. Yes.
based on how you use it in your own local culture, from where you are coming from. So when AI will do the translations, it does not translate based on English dictionary or other dictionaries. Nationalities, the region, the previous interaction with posts he wrote over social media, if the device is used and send newspaper or letters or official, he will understand. So he will start to give you the type of, I cannot tell you the type of English, the type of related accent and related keyword. And to not people not to offend me, I can tell you, like, we lived in France, and in France we have Parisian and we have Sicilian accent. In Quebec, they don't speak the standard French as France. When I went to Louisiana, they speak French, but they talk about Cajun dialect, not standard French. It's the same for English. We have people coming from Far East. They have a different set of English,
different accent,
and different accent, and different set of keywords as well. So what AI will do as personalized translators or personalized interpreter is provide what you expect from your culture. So it will facilitate the interaction with the museum.
As we know, all the coastal cities like Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada have high the humidity and the salt in the air, which can ruin all the electronics and things like this. What are the hardware standards you are using to protect the public touch screens from these harsh environmental?
Standards to work on very salty environment, very humid environment. Even we had platforms which work in
They're harsh factors, yes.
very hard factors. So this equipment right now are available, and as we said, is available for the public or at a reasonable price. In the past, this used to be very expensive. So there are some manufacturers who manufacture special screens, special devices to meet this particular environment. And that's why we always say, like, if somebody wants to practice these platforms, you need to have these solutions on the proper hardware. Don't go buy any hardware and have it.
You have to make sure that it's
the environmental impact are part of
the appropriate one for what the environmental
for what the environmental are.
The generative AI can sometimes make the mistakes or the highly connote incorrect facts. How do tech teams create the guardrails to ensure an interactive AI tour guide only gives 100% accurate historical data?
It's guaranteed. Like if you look at a specific topic, like a tour guide, with the time the system will settle at a high accuracy because it's very limited. The hallucination will come when is when you ask general questions. So we build in different places using technology called language chain or retrieval augmented generation, for short it's called drag. We build AI solutions which based on a specific knowledge base. It will not go away from it because the user will not ask questions. So for example, in a banking system, he will ask on bank operation. So the bank operation answers will come from the bank books. So when you use language chain or RAG solution, which is majority of our students right now from my university and others are very familiar with, this will limit the scope of knowledge to the AI. However, the user is looking for only this scope of. So hallucination is not part of the issue. The main issue is, can we run the system and say test the system for like 2-3 months so it will settle at a high level of accuracy, and this will come if we design the system early on this particular knowledge. But let's agree on that. Even our good friend Dr. Sahi Hawass, when he stand and talk about history, there's so many people don't agree on his stories. So we have to also make it a little bit of like not a comedy but a little bit of state that we don't agree on the actual facts of the history, and there is consensus, but there is no 100% agreement. So even if there is a little bit of here and there, by the time we will know it from the user experience, from the survey we will run after the experience of the users, we can go back and try to limit the answers. So the new AI, it can limit the answer at the question level. If you have a question which support multiple answer or support not proper answer, because you will get into the private issues or the beliefs or whatever, we stop the question and the AI will tell you we cannot answer this question. Alternatively, we can look at the quality of the source of documentation, which is language chain or RAG, and this will guarantee that you have it at both sides. A public accuracy or technology based or research accuracy, you talk about 89 to 94%. The 6%, I don't believe the user will sense it, because you can read a page and it has so many mistakes and you will not notice the mistakes. So in the global experience, it will not be significant. And this is my personal opinion too, okay?
Doctor, also, if a rare artifact is physically sitting in Cairo, how can the virtual reality or the AI be used to let a tourist in Sharm el-Sheikh, for example, interact with a perfect 3D digital replica of it?
We have a hologram approach where we take the statues and the artifacts and project a 3D to it. We have the hologram, we have the virtual glasses, which people can basically put the glass on and they start to see it and they start to interact with the graph, with the gloves and stuff like that. These are the ways of doing the virtual visits, and I believe the Grand Museum has lots of experience now on how to run this particular technological advancement over the artifacts.
And to upgrading a brand new building, for example, is simple. But what are the main technical hurdles when trying to install the heavy digital, the wiring or something into the communication technical historic music?
Basically, the hurdle is you may not have a clear pathway. This is a major hurdle we run into it. And usually we use a special conduit. We usually try to make a full ceiling or raise the grounds. And because of the building is historically is not built for this particular fittings, it will be short. Or so architect will be able to remodel this building piece by piece. To run it. One of the difficulties in old buildings is sometimes they are built with the wrong steel. They have lots of steel in it. So this will stop the Wi-Fi or the wireless communication. So yeah, because it will be down the connection. Some of them, they have I'm not sure if the steel bars at their time were better than ours or what, but sometimes the columns will be a good area to absorb the electromagnetic waves. So this kind of obstacles will be usually studied building by building, and architect working with technology designers, they come into specific solutions.
Doctor, beyond the tourist galleries, how can these high-tech museum systems be used to host the interactive digital workshops for the local school children and the communities?
Usually when you look at the local children and the committees, we look at will they interrupt the tourism and the people coming from overseas. So having a high-speed internet access to the museum in like local library or local school, and then the students will sit with their virtual reality machines and start to interact with these artifacts. This is the experience we saw have been happening in different places worldwide. And with the Ministry of Communication Information Technology, we usually have this technology available in high schools, and we saw this technology deployed in different places for online exams. So we are ready to have this kind of experience where the students can get into schools, into libraries, they can connect the machines over there, they can have a complete virtual tour. And we have now to talk about the cybersecurity aspect we talked about before. So the system has to be designed in a way that these parts of communication will be completely monitored, so we don't have attackers and we don't have bad things to happen from technical perspective.
Well, doctor, also with the AI guides, smart screens and the VR headsets advancing too quickly, what will be the actual role of the traditional human museum guide in the future, in your point of view?
Um, People will believe if you have an actual human. So we still believe humans. We look at the information on the virtual machines, but we come back to verify it from humans. And we have to also to look at two different generations. We have the elderly people who don't like to have the virtual machines against the people who like it. And there are those who will come for a cause because they want to interact, because the interaction with a human will get you what we call it culture transfer. So I talk to these guys from Egypt. That's why the tourism usually running this interpreter will be local, from the local community. Will not be coming from different cities, because we go there, we want to visit, and we want to also interact with the local people because we want to take piece of the culture interactions. So I believe they will have place. One place is to be able to run this equipment, because this equipment may fail, this equipment may have hurdles, this equipment may fix. And the other part is to have areas where they have to cover it in a human to human interaction, because we are about cultural experience. Otherwise, I will tell you, so they can stay in Europe, have the high-speed internet, and have the full experience. So why they will come? They come because they want to take part of this culture with them. They don't come only for the museum. It's the whole end-to-end experience. From the minute they come to the airport to the minute they leave, all interactions will count. And that's why areas like Sharm el-Sheikh, for example, is brilliant, because they have trained almost everybody. When you go to even to stores, you have the recyclable bags, you don't have the plastic bags. When you go to different places, you will find the whole city is welcoming foreigners, because this is the culture of the city, and that's why it's one of the top attractions in Egypt, and I believe one of the top visited cities right now.
Well, Dr. Wael Badawy, thank you so much for joining us in the Nile cruise and breaking down how a digital infrastructure and the AI are being used to safeguard here in Egypt.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you in this very informative dialogues, and looking forward to see you again.
Thank you so much.